welcome to study group. Today is when things go wrong. I said that might have, maybe we should have called that how to make things go right. So this next week, you guys, I'm piggybacking the side, kind of the same topic. Actually, ding, 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 ding. No class next week. So we won't be having class, but we'll let you all know that. So the next time we meet in 2 weeks, there's going to be 4 things to do when you're training and your dog makes a mistake in sequence and coursework. So it's going to be technical, and there's going to be these 4 easy steps to remember. But this article is a little bit more designed about giving your dog what he needs to stay mentally in the right place in between errors. So I got a little bit obsessed with that back when I wrote this article. I remained obsessed with it. And that's because I could see lots of dogs that had really great skills with very competent handlers that sacrificed their mental state when things weren't perfect. And I have a few students that also sacrifice their mental state when things aren't perfect. So this article kind of goes there a little bit, but I do get into specifics about particular obstacles. So without further ado, I'm going to screen share. And I was tempted to just like read the whole thing with you. I'm going to minimize my participant screen, which you can do too if your participant screen covers up any of the article. Anne-Marie, can everybody see the article?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're talking about is not just German Shepherds that jump over contact zones. We're talking about your definition of something going wrong, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But what I'm wanting you to do is think about the habits that you have when your training session isn't going exactly as you hoped, intended, whatever. And I want to take you somewhere right now that's not in the article. I want to take you to learning from seminars and from online things and all kinds of sources when you're not actually in a class, and where you're not in class with me, where you've got me not allowing you to do certain things. And you say, boy, that makes sense. So let's talk about today. So you guys are going to hopefully learn something from me, and hopefully you learned something last week and you think, God, that all makes sense, and I want to train like that. I want to implement that into my training program. And then you get out there and you sort of fall into your old ways, and your training session kind of goes like it always did, or it's a little different, but then the next time. And what I'm saying is it's really easy to just slip back into your habit. So, oh my gosh, there's a million books on habits. I have personally read them all. And if you're picking things up that you want to implement into your training program, you're going to need a plan for that. Awesome. Thank you. Whoever did what. So you guys, what I'm saying is, as you're learning things, you're gonna need to think about them a lot. I do a ton of dog training in the car. I tell people that all the time when I'm thinking about my plan. What's my dog gonna do, and what are my options to communicating with him? How am I gonna give him support in the training session? What's likely to occur if I try this new thing, getting myself in the right frame of mind. But if you wanna create, if something in this article lights your fire and you wanna create change in your program as a result, you'll have to make a strong commitment to that change and stay aware in your training sessions and notice in your training session when the thing you don't want to do happens and replace it with the thing that you do want to do. And it is a process that requires somebody being kind and gentle with themselves. I hope that you are inspired to make the changes you need for success, and that you give yourself a little bit of credit for change isn't always easy and habits are hard to change. So the first part of the article is just about that when things go wrong, we often just, our habit just pops up. And so knowing what to do when things happen is a decision, and you learn it. And then when you don't do it, you recognize that you didn't do it, and you just try harder next time. That's the moral of the story. Just give it a better shot the next time you're out there. So I talk a little bit about what I've been recently calling in my articles as know thy dog. So there's all kinds of dogs, and I think the hardest dogs are the split personality types. I know lots of students that, they'll say, oh my gosh, when I get to the line, I don't know what dog I have. Or as soon as I get to the line, I get an unfortunate message as to which dog I have. And, there's another article called Accepting the Dog That You Have, and that's coming up. We're going to go there. So it's a thing. And I've got lots of experience with people on all sides of that coin, both sides of that coin. So what you need to do, though, is you need to have a different plan for the dog that has a split personality, the one that runs fast sometimes and slow at other times, for the over-the-top crazies, because you can give them tools, because it's when you reset them, and it's when you fix them, and it's when you stop moving and there's not flow, there's certain things that make those dogs nuts, and they almost always happen immediately after something goes wrong. So if it's that type of dog, the strategy for them is different. You're going to give your slower dogs a reason to run, and you're going to have tools, and you're going to accept the fact that might not be a day when that particular tool works, and that might be a day where there's no tool that works. And then what? Having a plan, because if frustration or disappointment is your plan, that dog's not going to be inspired by you. And then you've got some dogs that are in the middle of the pack. They're running at a nice speed, and you don't want them to become a slowpoke, and you don't want them, as their love for the sport increases, to become a frustrated crazy. So this is about coming up with a plan for your dog. And then I make the little joke that I'm not just referring to the dog. So training when you're super tired, training while drinking, training when you're not in the mood to train. My advice is you can fake it and flip it, or maybe you ought to be training, because we do, the dog's not gonna have fun if you're not having fun. Fake it till you make it. If you can't fake it, play ball. Developing, maintaining, and modifying what you do when your dog goes wrong will benefit your relationship with your dog, because it builds trust and understanding instead of creating confusion and frustration. Wow. Wow. There's the part you came for. What you can get. You can get a relationship built in trust and understanding. And that's when it works. That's when there's joy for you and your dog. So highs and lows. We've already talked about the difference between the high drive dogs and the low drive dogs needing a different approach. I have recently been learning for the past several months about a tool called a mark tub. And I'm going to be exploring that with my audience more. I'm going to start incorporating it into the beginners programs. And so there's more coming on the subject of helping high drive dogs keep their brain intact, and helping lower dogs become a little bit more engaged, especially with the tasks that tip them into an unwanted frame of mind and training. So it is a huge challenge. Many folks are in the boat, but help is here. So what happens when things, you guys, the main thing that happens is this, I'm skipping a little bit here, so let me not do that. Give me just a second here. If anybody has a question on that first page, raise your hand. Anne Marie will see it. I won't. While I'm catching my place here. So with the higher drive dog, the idea is that he's always got something to do. So you tell him, you don't expect him to guess, because what happens is while the handler's figuring out how they want to repick the course up or get the dog back in the pole or what they're going to do about the dog, they usually stop moving, they change directions, and the dog is suddenly like, what the heck? It's like if you're having a conversation with somebody and they walked away from you. And then the dog will go into a routine. That routine can be jumping up and biting you, jumping back and forth from side to side in front of you, barking, running off, going cracker dog. They've usually got their favorite go-to thing. So if your go-to, as soon as that dog needs your help, is to give him a heel command and reinforce him for responding, or have him do a down. If your down isn't used in a punishing way, you can just drop him. Easy, buddy, lay down, what a good boy. So helping that dog do a controlled thing is going to help that dog know what to do. That's what they're doing when they're spinning and barking. I don't know what the hell what you want. I don't know what the hell you want. That's exactly what they're saying. But if you start giving a dog that doesn't have as much energy or drive a bunch of obedience commands, that dog is going to it's going to be too much work for that dog. It's going to be too many rules. So knowing how to keep it fun, baby talk, have that voice inflection, that demeanor where you're wiggly in your waist and you're smiling. Can't stress it enough. It's been proven in science. They can read our faces. If you look like you're miserable, don't be expecting your dog to do cartwheels for you. Rushing is the kiss of death in dog training. I say this all the time. As soon as you feel yourself rushing, or you give them a cue and it's not fast enough, so you can give them a different cue, patting the leg, like saying heel, and then you barely get them into space, and then you're sending them over the jump. If you said heel, if you said close, if you've requested a lineup, take your time, get your lineup, reinforce, and then give another cue. It's a real downer when you've said line up, but you're rushing and they're like, okay, I'm trying to do that for you, mama. And then it's like, oh no, I don't want that anymore. I want this, that, and it blows the minds of the over aroused dogs, and it bums the lower drive dogs out. So let's talk about how to make matters, worse. I think it's valid to know. So start line stays, do they build drive? You could say, I train my start line stays so they build drive. And I do too. My dogs don't resent the start line, and they spring off the start line, and I have good start lines and I work very hard to have them. Would my dog rather do start lines than tunnels? I don't think so. No, they would not. So if the dog could check a box and say, what would I rather do more than anything else? It's not 9 start lines, because I can't get my footwork right on a front cross. And then we come into my favorite topic that I bring up almost every week, which is, if something's not rewarding, at what point in the dog's brain does it become opposite of rewarding or a punishment? So my dog may not love it, but it's not exactly punishment, but how many of them would it turn into that? So this is just about understanding what your dog loves, what your dog doesn't love, what your dog really doesn't love, and knowing what to avoid and when. So I work start lines as start lines. I do maintenance work on my start lines. I work on start lines a lot, but I'm not using tons of start line. I don't want to confuse the issue. If my issue is poles or a bar or a contact, doing start lines over and over and over is going to erode my start lines. So that's why I avoid doing it. I also rarely will do can I say never? I haven't in years need to do a start line in the middle of a drill to get a little bit ahead. Normally I'm rushing in the middle of a drill, not so much. myself, but you know what I'm saying here. There's rushing that goes on, and then the dog is released simultaneously with movement. And the actual use of using the start line in order to get into position for the middle of a drill starts to erode the nice solid start line. And I see that all the time. If somebody doesn't understand what I'm talking about, write it down and ask me later, because it's something you do want to understand. Um, so this is where this is one of my favorite things. Everybody that trains with me knows that I will restart a sequence without a lead out. So I'm on the diagram now, right here. So this handler, this dog was set up in front of one, and the handler had let out in front of the poles, just past two, right where my cursor is. And she wanted to do a front cross and have the dog weave. Well, the dog didn't. So what she did is she pulled to her right this way. Now the dog, she pulled to her right. This is the right side of her body. Now her dog is on her left because he was weaving and he popped out. So he's on this hand. She's pulling around, and there they are now. And she's sending the dog back. She's not running to the jump. She's sending the dog to the jump, and she's in the exact position to try her front cross again. This method doesn't make it so she's not getting the exact same approach. And that's the part where that's the price. So nothing's perfect. So I try my best to get the general idea. Now she might want to go back after she does a few, gets that dog into those weave pulls with that front cross. She may want to go back and recreate the exact line by putting the dog on one, but she doesn't have to. That's my point. Telling the dog oops or wrong. One of my favorite subjects. I'm pausing for a moment so I don't stay here for the entire hour. Again, you guys, I was kind of, when I'm doing these, I kind of think about it all day and the day before and the points that I want to make the most. And I was joking with myself because that's what I do. And I thought, I'm just going to tell them all of this just depends on the dog. Session over. And it's really true. All of this stuff depends on the dog. It tickles me when in a bad way, when I'm listening to people at dog shows talk about what works and what doesn't. Because it's like, if you don't know the breed, the learning history, that dog's personal likes and dislikes, and all about 1,000 things, you don't know what's best for that team. You really, you can't watch a dog you don't know and say, oh yeah, the front cross works better, or the rear, what's trained better is what's going to work better. So with marker words, some dogs, it's a good idea. Some dogs, it's a horrible idea. The one thing that because I am so attached to voice inflection, is I don't use oopsie, that sounds like good boy. I don't do that. I like the word don't, nope is what I use a lot. And when I say nope, my dogs wag their tails. There's no ear drop. They're like, nope just means, oh, cool, she's going to give us another shot at a cookie. So when I tell my dogs nope, it is not a downer. If I said, my dogs would drop their ears, because that would be the noise they would get if they were taking a piece of cheese off the counter. I'm never going to do that in agility. Agility is all tricks for treats, all fun and games. So in agility, I do use them less and less. I have my little Jigsy boy. If you told him, he would just as soon go pout for about a week. So it's not on the table for him. And I think that the most important thing is that you learn about your voice inflection. So that's why I love nope. It's matter of fact. It has no inflection of you're in trouble. It has no inflection of I love what you just did, which is why oopsie does not resonate with me, because I want my dog, when I'm going, yay, that's it, good job, I want them to know that they are on the right track. I'm never going to sound like that if I think they need different input. So how your dog reacts to your marker word is going to tell you whether it's effective or not. You guys scolding yourself. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That just is if I had a nickel for every time yeah, I know it wasn't him. Whatever you say out there, your dog should think it's about him. I mean, don't you really want that? Don't you really want your dog, when you're out there with things coming up your throat and out your mouth, for your dog to assume it's about him? Heaven help him if he, ignores you. So how the heck is that dog supposed to know what he's supposed to ignore coming out of your mouth, and what he's supposed to absolutely give you a 1 bazillion quick, excellent response to? So when you do, can you see me throw the head back up? Like you've been wounded on course. Your dog may not look like that was the most devastating thing to ever happen to him in his whole entire life, but it sure as heck is not doing you any good, and you don't need to be doing it anyway. It shouldn't be your experience. It should be, hey, bud, let me figure out what's in your way here. You're the teacher. Can you imagine the little kindergartner teacher with those little kids going, oh, you can't spell cat again? So keep the moans and the groans for, I don't know what, the boss, the husband, the wife, not the dog. Overusing lineup to the legs, it is exactly like the stays. You do not have to get your dog to line up to your leg to restart a sequence. You don't. And if you're gonna do it, I already told you, do it right. So I brainwash my dogs to love lineups. I do zillions of lineups. They do lineups. They love lineups. They do lineups to swim. But again, you guys, they would rather not do a lineup than a tunnel. So just play with them over to the point. Just tease them up and talk to them to the point where you want to pick up your drill. Tug them to the point where you want to pick up the drill, as long as it's an advantage to be next to them. What drives me crazy is when people go, oh, okay, Sandy, I'll do that every time. And they get the dog on the toy, or they jazz them up and they're moving with engagement, I call it, which is fun healing. And they get to the point, but they wanted to do a front cross. So now they're starting next to the dog, and there's no way in hell they can make the front cross. So now we had whatever happened to make us start the drill again. And the front cross is going to be horrid, because there's no way for the handler to be ahead. So in that case is where I would do, if you see my cursor, this business, where I'm just going to send the dog backwards over the closest thing. Again, if you're not understanding me, make yourself a little note. Cheerleading to the excess. I want to tell a short story. I'm at 4:27. I can do it. So when I was learning footwork drills from a football coach that inspired the Feet First program, he would be real sweet to me and teach me the footwork in one of those ladders. And he'd be real kind. And he'd encourage me and treat me like I was a kindergartner, and I would learn it and try real hard. And then when I kind of got it, he'd start pushing me, like, come on now, pick it up. And that would cause it to blow up. And I would stumble and get the steps wrong, and we would both laugh. And it made me think, oh my God, this is just what it's like for the dogs. This is just what it's like, especially in the polls. They get it. It's like, okay, I got it. Okay, I can go a little faster. Okay. And then we're like, come on. So cheerleading in just the right amount gets peak performance. Pushing, especially when this learning is not at the stage, or the dog is not in the frame of mind ready for it, is what I'm saying, mentally, physically, whatever, and you do it, it can really be a bummer for the dog. It's not encouraging, it's pushing. And for a soft dog, it looks to me on those dogs' faces that the dog is saying, I'm not good enough for you again. I'm not good enough. No matter how hard I try, I'm never good enough. And I just don't think there's a place for disappointment between you and your partner if you're trying to get their best out of them. So that's pretty much enough about that. I think you're getting the picture of which obstacles to take in the wrong way, which is the loop work. And I'm going to spend some time on that diagram down there. So that's going to take a little bit of time. So let's look at these. This is what I want to spend some time on with you, which we'll be able to get through the rest of the stuff. And hopefully it'll be thorough enough that you guys don't have a ton of questions. So restarting the polls, the main thing is don't front cross and then do a pole dog human sandwich. So what this handler has done is she's headed this way in the polls. So they're going in the direction of my cursor, and the dog pops out. And this handler is doing what I don't want you to do. She's doing a front cross to go back. So she's running her dog right next to the poles and not wanting the dog to weave. There is no time that it is going to be to your benefit for your dog to run that close to the poles and not do them, you guys. Don't plant that seed. This handler's got it right. Dog popped out. She's going to bring the dog on the outside of her. So now it's a person pole dog sandwich. This way, it's a pole dog person sandwich. The dog is in the middle of the poles and the person. Here, the person is in the middle of the dogs and the poles. And whenever I'm resetting, running across even if I'm just running across a course to reset, I'm not running my dogs close to obstacles and saying, geez, lots of times when we're heading right for stuff, I'm thrilled if you don't take it. Now, if I'm working my snooker leg, if I'm saying close, 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 then that's different. So this is how some dogs get too handler focused. And this is the root of, I live in a world of when in doubt, take the obstacle. I don't want my dogs living in a world of when in doubt, don't take the obstacle. And that's like one of my core things that I can remember when I'm asking myself, am I getting what I want? Am I providing the information that's going to suit me well long-term? So Anne-Marie had to say, are you coming to the class today? Because I was playing with this and how to show you. I can't see your hands, but I imagine that some of this was complicated. So it's 4:32. I think I'm going to try to spend 10 minutes here before I go over these, and then we'll be good. So this is, spend some time with this, because if I do say so myself, this is really good stuff. So this was a USDA team standard course. And so the handler is handling the poles. Now, when she comes from 6, she may want to do those poles with the dog on her left, or she may want to do those poles with the dog on her right. So either way will work. That's not the point. So if she has, if the dog pops out of the weaves, down here, and she's got her dog on her left, she's on this side, she can just do a sharp pull. Like, don't stop there. And especially if it's a lower drive dog, it's a dog you're trying to keep going. Or if it is a dog, if it would be too many obstacles, she can, yay, good boy, and bring him back around. This is a soft dog I'm talking about. And I wouldn't praise popping out of the poles endlessly. This is where it gets complicated, guys, because it's, like I said, I could have started the class today and said, it depends on the dog is the answer to everything. So this handler has, so this is Jigsy. So if Jigsy at this point in his training, which he has decent pulls, but not perfect, if he popped out, I would choose to say nothing. If it was the first time he ever popped out, or the first time he'd ever done pulls in sequence, I might tell him, attaboy, you're still fine. I would pull, I'll do a pull cue. Now the dog is on my left, send him over 12, and then I could, I'm sorry, I can't see, 15, put him through the chute, which no longer happens, right? And then either bring him here or do this 180. So either one, I'm keeping the dog moving. I'm not saying stay. And I'm also not healing him past all this stuff, saying don't take stuff, don't take stuff, don't take stuff, which drives a lot of dogs crazy, high drive dogs and the lower drive dogs. So if she had her dog on her right and the dog popped out of the pole, she could pick up number 4 and just do the dog walk again and do 6 again and pick her poles back up. So she could do this big loop. Why would you not maybe choose that? You wouldn't maybe choose that if you were going to open up your contact can of worms. So if you didn't have a great contact and all here you were doing was fixing the pop out of the poles, now you got the contact can of worms open. Oh, well, too bad you work in contacts now. That's why you never have to worry about what to train, because your dog will tell you. So say the dog missed the weave pole entry and the dog was on the handler's left. So the handler is on this side. The handler could do a front cross in order to not put the dog in the chute, because if she pulls this way, she's going to be cueing the chute. So she could just step over, do a front cross right here, send the dog over 6, and go back to the poles. If the dog was on her right, she could just do a nice, dog pops out of the poles, just pat her right leg, do a nice pull. So she's got the sandwich, it's poles her, the dog, put the dog back over 6 and pick up her poles. So this is a way to keep the dog moving if keeping the dog moving is in your best interest. So say the dog misses the dog walk contact down on 5. Hopefully you know what you do with your dog every time he misses a contact. There is a system of communication. That's a whole nother topic. And there's actually, I'll go into sales mode, a whole class going on right now through Clean Run that I teach on it. But so that's why I wrote, when you're ready to reattempt the dog walk, so you do whatever you do when your dog misses the contact, you're going to do 18, 19 and the wrong side of 2. So you would just come around here, 18, 19, and then take 2 this way. So the dog missed the contact. You're just going to pick up this jump 18, 19, the wrong side of 2, and you're right back on your dog walk. If the dog is on the right, you're going to pick up 6, 7, and 4 and get right back on the dog walk. So my dog came off, I do whatever I do, whether it's a short one or a self-fix, and then a couple short ones, and then go 6, 7, 4 backwards, and then I'm back on track to pick my course up and to see if my work helped. And that's what the next time we get together, which is not next week, is gonna give you the 4 steps of actually communicating at the scene of the crime. Dog misses the down contact on the A-frame. So he's taking 12 this way and he misses his contact. When you are ready to reattempt the A-frame, meaning you're teaching, you would do a front cross to 8. So you're going to put the dog into the tunnel, pick up 9, and then do your A-frame again. Dog misses the teeter contact. Boy, my dog's got contact problems today. In this case, I would heel the dog on my left. Not all loops include obstacles, so I'm using my body as a loop. And if I wanted to do it, so I could just heel the dog. So right here, guys, the dog's on my left. I have a word that means heel. My word is close. And close means you cannot take anything else until further notice. This is a no obstacle command. And it's repeated, close, 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 and put the dog on the teeter. So say my teeter was looking really shabby and I thought my dog could use 3 or 4 jackpots for his teeter work. I could just take a second and rotate that tire like that and then do my teeter tire loop. Teeter tire, teeter tire, teeter tire. Don't name a dog Ty. I've already done that. Okay, so this is when it is an advantage to just keep your dog moving, and there is room for communicating, like if on the wee polls, if you didn't want to rush, if you wanted to do the polls a couple more times before you did sequence, it's whatever you do. And that's what the next time we get together, that exact thing that you do before you get to this point, when you are ready to reattempt, when you are ready to reattempt. So here's some tips for what to actually do. The contacts, I often lie the dog down. Now that I do a self-fix, this is a little bit different. Those of you that have done my, training program, the lie down would happen in competition. I would never lie a dog down to correct a contact if one, sorry, Siri's talking to me. I would never have the dog lie down if the dog didn't love lie down. And if I tell the dog lie down in competition and I move and he self-releases, I have to leave the ring. So my lie down is in a really strong state before I'm using it as a communication piece. If you're using lie down in trials, it would be good for the dog to see it in class sometimes. But again, my new contact program, well, it's not so new anymore, has way more extensive steps on the contact. Screw up cookies. In general, you guys, I'm going to do one of these talks on common practices in training and just what I think about them. Screw up cookies were in relationship to refusal. So we'll go there in just a second. I don't believe in scolding dogs for knock bars. They're either taught to jump or they're not. If they can't get off the ground at the right point to navigate the bar, they can't, they need help. They don't need scolding. They need help. So I've scolded dogs for knock bars and I was wrong to do it. The most I'll do is go quiet, put the bar back up. Teaching dogs how to jump is way beyond the scope of this, but I normally just go quiet. I'm not going to have a party when the bar comes down because my dog is struggling and I don't like to give messages. Boy, the amount of things that cause poor dogs to knock bars, bad handling is right at the top of the list. Late cues, inability to jump, optical illusions on the other side of the jump, that triple with the sun and the ring ropes. Give your dog a break on the jump bars. Running around jumps, I do dive in like a warrior princess. That is not an exaggeration. And I don't let the dog finish it's just like in herding. I don't let the dog finish the arc. And I'm just saying, whoa, 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 like the dog was about to run off a cliff. I'm not upset. I'm not mad. It's just, whoa, 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 no, you're going to be in the snake pit. Don't go over there, and get them back in. If I don't have time, I'm not going to scold him or upset him. I'm just going to have them. So you guys, if the dog gets all the way past the jump, I'm going to actually put them over the jump in the wrong direction. Because I'm just saying, hey, pal, it's about this thing. I don't want you running around these things. I want you taking him. Yes, he would have technically run around it. But if I didn't get him back to the correct side, the next best thing is jump. That is the only option left on the table for me as the teacher. Refusals. This says it's my current favorite subject, and I wrote this in 2013. How can it still be? So, you guys, there are so many things that we learned 30 years ago. And then we learned, oh, there's a better way. And then we did that. And it just seems like every answer to every dilemma got taken so far in one direction that it ended up spoiling the solution. I mean, there's just there's an article right there. So what happened is there came a time in the sport where we realized all of our mistakes were our fault. We thought our dogs were blowing us off. We thought our dogs weren't listening. And then we started to learn how timely cues had to be and what the experience was truly like for our dogs. And we started seeing it from the dog's point of view a little bit. So then we started saying every time something goes wrong, every time I make a mistake, I'll throw a party for the dog and I'll give them a cookie because it was my mistake after all. Well, you got to think about this from the dog's point of view. First of all, did you make a teeny tiny little mistake or did you fall down? I mean, if you made a little teeny tiny mistake, so I'm going to tell you, most of the time when I ask a client, what was the mistake that you made and how big of a mistake was it? How am I going to say this gently? A lot of the times my student is wrong. The mistake was either bigger or smaller than they think. And you guys think of the word reasonable. Put that in your brains, because if your cue is reasonable, like you're moving toward the darn thing, you want your dog thinking, when in doubt, take the jump. When in doubt, take the A-frame. When in doubt, take the pose. If I'm headed toward it and I haven't given you a neon sign of a turn cue, do not take it, you should be taking it. If you train your dog that if I blink or rotate or sneeze and you don't take the jump and I throw a party, I believe we have trained refusals. And I learned this when I was competing in Spain, and somebody from another country came up to me and said, why do Americans have so many refusals? And I thought, wow, I didn't know we had more refusals than the rest of you guys out there. And I started looking at it, and I contributed it to screw up cookies, because people are having, oh, but he took the turn cue. Yeah, but he's got to take the jump too. So all you have to do, if you give your cue in a way that makes your dog doubt, notice I didn't even say right or wrong, because if you're trying to get competitive with your timing cues, you're going to be using timing that your dog doesn't understand. And when you do that, he's going to have questions. And it may be, oh, when you turn, then I shouldn't take the jump. And if you give him a whole bunch of cookies, what the heck is he supposed to think? You guys, you can get him over the jump in 1/2 of 1 second and give him everything in your pockets immediately. Withholding a cookie for a second isn't like taking them out behind the barn and giving them a beating. So don't train refusals by throwing parties when you get them. You do something, and even if you did fall down, put them over the jump and empty your pockets. Give them everything you got. So don't train refusals. The reason we have so many refusals is because we train them. So let me stop screen sharing. Boy, did I enjoy that. I hope nobody's asleep. If you don't want to be seen on screen, you can turn your camera off, but I sure hope you don't. And I'm ready for questions. Anne Marie, if you've got some already, you can let me know. Or you can wait, you can put your hand up at the bottom and Anne Marie can help you, or you can just speak out. Questions? Oh, come on. Somebody's got to be brave. You can ask a specific question about, oh, from Anne Marie, go ahead and unmute. So if somebody's got a question, and I won't know it because you're not unmuting, I would say just unmute if you have a question. Lori, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I guess some of these things, I'm not always clear if there's something we should be doing in competition or in training, you know, because like you say, for the contacts, it might be different, but like start line stays, I understand about looping back in the sample you have, but what if the start line itself is the problem, but you don't want to make it worse, maybe by making it punitive at a trial and setting them up again or again?
So I love it that you said, there seems to be this big distinction between training and trialing. And Lori, I try to make as many things look the same as I can, but I cannot do in the ring what I would do in training. So the judge and the organization rules dictate. But what I have done is I've sorted that all out in my P brain before I'm in either place. So I know you guys, usually when you go to training, you have a good idea of what you're going to get, you know, what questions your dog might have. So I'm prepared for either one. If I don't have a start line trained, I'm not using it. I use a start line in sequence and coursework when it's trained. And the only time I would use a start line in my sequence and coursework was if two things. One, I was completely in the mood to only train start lines, or two, if I had a way to cheat. And the way to cheat would be a mark tub. Do you know what that is?
No.
So a mark tub is, there's so much value in it that I want to talk about, but it's basically teaching your dog to hang out on a mark tub, on a rubber bowl, but we teach them in a way that it becomes a really fun, happy place. And because it's not as controlled of a position, it's much easier for the dog. So it is a way for you to practice lead outs for that over aroused dog. But if you guys have any lead out problems and you're letting your dogs break because you just sort of can't take this on today and you'll strengthen it in training later, I can't save you. You can't go there. So the other thing that you can do is send the dog backwards over the first two jumps. So in training, if you need a lead out and you don't have one in competition, you can't be there. You can't do it halfway. You could only run the courses that you can handle by restraining the dog and letting them go. Other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love lead out work, and the mark tubs are just a great stepping stone for those dogs that have themselves convinced that they can't do it, because that's what it is. The dog has got itself convinced. I can't do it. 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 Sometimes those dogs actually convince their owners that they can't too. It's a little phenomenon thing.
What do you look for pre-run in your dogs to kind of hit off some of this? Like, what do you look for? Do you look how jazzed they're up, how down they are?
I have a perfect picture in my head. Love that question. So there is this amount of spark, I call it, spark is my word, of enthusiasm that puts them in the optimum training brain. So if there's less spark because it's 101, I have things that I do to help that dog be at its best for that environment. If my dog isn't in a frame of mind that he can perform, I wouldn't run him. I have pulled dogs. It's too hot, mama. And that's my dog. I mean, it's my partner. I can't just say too bad, you have to anyway. If my dog is over aroused, we have practiced things to take it all down a notch, and my demeanor and what I'm saying and what I'm doing when the dog ahead of me is running and before I go in. I've practiced influencing them, and I have helped them learn how to get to certain places in their heads via certain tools: toys, food, marks, more stays, less stays, more control in different places, less control in different places, letting their hair down, control over reinforcement. So I have bridges to those brain spaces with those dogs. But what I'm looking for is spark. I'm looking for, oh, I can't wait to work with you, mama. I can't wait. It's not, flying around, and it's not, oh, not this again. Yes, Anne Marie. You got to unmute.
There's a whole host of questions in the chat that we're just going to go through. I can read them out to you. BK asks, when you're doing the loop work, why bring the dog around another obstacle instead of just starting the poles again if the dog pops out?
Because the the turn cue, likely a pull cue, may put what I call another obstacle into play. And if there wasn't another obstacle into play, like that tunnel chute being right there, I very well may. I would just use my leg. And that's why I said sometimes the loop isn't an obstacle. So there are lots of times where I would do exactly what you're thinking. Keep the dog on my leg and bring him around.
Okay, BK, you'll let me know.
One more second. Sometimes, you guys, the error in the weave pull entry was based in momentum. So if you're just bringing them around on your leg and you've got no momentum going, you're not giving the dog the same challenge. So that would be the other reason why just looping them around would completely change the angle and the momentum, and it's not the same question anymore. Okay, next one.
Nick, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, there we go. I had a question about handling different dogs. So I've got two very different dogs. I've got Border Collie Apache Moon, and she's such a good girl and just wants to do the right thing. And so I really want to keep her going, you know. So if I redo something on course, I just let her run, and she wants to take off obstacles, whatever. But my point is, my other dog, the Pierce Shep, who I'm in the contacts class, starting that, is like the exact opposite. He's just so fired up. And if I get him, I've got a start line stay with him now, so I can usually get that. But if I have to correct on course or something, or even if I get behind, he just, his immediate reaction is to spin and bark and come right to the handler and just go crazy. And he's just, he loves being excited like that.
Yeah.
What's the proper way to restart a dog like that? You know, I can't go through the whole start line procedure again. I don't want to do that.
You keep him working.
Let me
go
say
ahead.
one thing, Sandy. I mean, what I've been doing, which I think is wrong, is I restart him when he's in that behavior. He's spinning and spinning, and I'll just send him out over a jump. And I'm worried now about that kind of supporting his self-reinforcing excitement.
Yeah, the whole thing about, I love it when people say, I'm worried if this will cause that. So if this will cause that is every trainer's, you know, gig. But if you're open-minded and observant, you will know if this is causing that. So when I call that slingshotting, when you're slingshotting him, if he seems to be thinking more after you do that, then it wasn't any problem. But if that slingshotting is just making him get higher, then it's not a valuable thing for you. So you guys, we've got about 3 more minutes. I want to talk to Nick some more. Everybody's welcome to stay. I'm all in. And if you have to leave and you have a burning question, put your blue hand up and we'll get you in as soon as I'm done talking to Nick. And then if anybody wants to nick out right, you know, at 5, my feelings won't be hurt. So Nick, I've worked with lots of these high drive dogs so what would be a classic mistake that would make, so you're just behind and he feels, so your dog believes that if you're too far behind, you can't drive effectively anymore and he has to redirect onto you?
Well, that's part of it. Or if he's taking the wrong jump and I just want to get him back on the right course.
So if
he doesn't go crazy after I do that. He restarts fine. He's still running well until he gets to a contact where again he has to slow down and stop, and then he jumps off the contact or loses his brains are coming out his ears, as you say. So his arousal state probably gets to a place in a certain amount of time, depending on which obstacles are being used, whether they're his favorite or his least favorite, because the brain juice in the dog is determined by if they're doing things that make their brains settle or their brains scramble. So if you guys have a little bit of a history of scrambling around the context, he could have the same exact thing that I suspect Lori's dog has with, I don't believe when I am this excited that I can do this. And where I go with this with dogs is, you know, soldiers and policemen and first responders have to learn self-regulation in order to perform with adrenaline. And I wrote an article, Adrenaline, Friend or Foe, about dogs and people.
So when we get these dogs just convinced that they can't learn, they can't think when they're that aroused, and again, I keep mentioning that I'm really interested in using these mark tubs as solutions for some of that. But for the main thing with that type of dog is if you have a very, very strong, lovely, controlled, happy down, and if you have a lovely, lovely, very strong come to leg. Because if you've got a strong come to my leg, stay on my leg, eat on my leg, be on my leg, when you get that, you can make that physical connection about you. You're not just a destination, you're something, you're rewarding. So when you can feel, because of his speed, and it may, Nick, be that the slingshotting to pick up a jump and getting him back on track, how well that keeps his brain engaged may simply be the configuration of the obstacles creating something nice and smooth. But if the configuration of the obstacles makes a herky-jerky and then you're yelling to get a turn because you weren't able to cue collection on approach, then that rattled his brain. Unsmooth handling upsets doggy brains. Late handling, they're like, I don't like it no more because you're late.
He's a late committer too, so you timing. He's
Well,
definitely a test of timing for me.
And these dogs that are high drive and super fast and pull off of stuff and are like really reactive, the best thing you can do is get them to where they'll go take an obstacle even if you're going the other way, so that they've got permission to go on and they'll do it. Anyways, does that help?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yep.
Thanks.
Anne-Marie?
So we have a question from Cynthia about in competitions. Can you explain a little bit about what are legal limitations on repeating a portion of the course?
About what of the course? Legal,
like, yeah, what's allowed in if I understand the question correctly, what's allowed in competitions when you can repeat courses?
Oh, well, now that they have fix and continue and mulligans and all that, you got to know, you got to look it up, because there's those fix and continue, and I forget the other one. That is, oh my gosh, you guys, training in the ring is the sweetest thing to ever happen to us. The fact that you can actually talk to your partner and help your partner legally. And you guys, I do things that are illegal, so I'm probably not the best one to ask. I can tell you what to do when you offend the judge. I do what my partner needs. My commitment is to my dog. So if my dog needs help, and you guys, if the judges tell you in the briefing, and sometimes you can get lucky and your friends will tell you that one's a stickler for the teeter, and you can modify your behavior, but my commitment is to my dog. And I have been chased out of rings, I've been whistled out of rings. I always go to the judge afterwards and say, I did not mean any disrespect, I am so sorry for my behavior. But you have to be pretty quick, and I'm always trying to show respect. So there are all different kinds of rules with the fix and continue. I'm sorry, I don't know them all off the top of my head, but you do have to be quick, and I try very hard to not be rude. When I lead out, I'm all business. So I'm showing the judge right from the start that I respect his position. And if the judge says you have to leave, I say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. But I still got to help my partner.
And we have one from PZ Mar, who's caught on to mark tubs. Want to find out a little bit more about mark tubs? How do we order the little buckets?
We've got more. We've got more coming on mark tubs, where we are working so hard on that right now. We're excited. I don't want you to run out and buy them. I want you to learn how to do it from us. But you can start with a log and just teach your dog to put his feet on a log. You just got to be happy. They're rubber feeding bowls that you get from the feed catalogs. But it's a trick, it's fun, it's a game. So if you start on your own, have fun with it. We might be able to see what Dev can get us. She's the one working on the content.
I see a couple people unmuted, so maybe they have questions that they want to bring up. We're out of the
MM
chat
and
box.
Bonnie. MM, do you have a question? MM11?
No,
Okay. Bonnie Barron, do you have a question?
no question.
Anybody else? Going once. So we're not meeting next week. This was recorded. Thank you. Anne Marie, was there anything else from me? No, we're good. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for coming. Please tell your friends if you're finding value. This is free, 100%. If you found value, there's a little donate button. I don't want you to feel obligated. And please stay safe and hang in there. Play with your dogs. They need you. They'll never
Thanks,
tire of
Sandy.
you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Stay
Thanks.
Thank you,
safe.
Sandy.
Stay
Thanks
safe.
so much.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Anne Marie.